Okay, so welcome to another episode of the React series. So, this is our second lesson, and in our first lesson, we talked about how to create our first React app. We created a folder on desktop, we opened our code editor, that is VS Code. We imported the folder into our VS Code. Then we ran the command npm create vite at latest to create our first React app. So, now, in this lesson, I'm going to explain the project structure of the React app. Then we can begin to make some changes or begin to write more codes. So this is what you see after you've successfully created your first React app. You'll be presented with all these items inside the folder that you created. So whenever you restart your computer or whenever you restart your VS Code, you need to run the React app in your local host or in your browser. And to do that, you have to go to your terminal again, new terminal. So you have to check the directory's address, whether it is matching with what you have here. So you have the user Best Buy desktop and React. But as you can see here, this is the React folder, and inside the React folder, we also have another folder called React. So you have to change the directory to this one before we can run our command. So we are going to type cd, that is change directory, React. So now we've been able to change the directory to the directory where we have our React app. So as you can see, we have the Best Buy desktop, and under the desktop we have React. This is our first folder here. Then we have React, that is the second folder, which contains the files. So now we are going to run the command npm run dev. Npm run dev, hit enter. So this is the command that you are going to use to start your development server. So whenever you restart your computer or you restart your VS Code editor, you have to change the directory to match the directory where you have your React app. Then you run the command npm run dev. I'm going to leave the command under the description of this video so that it will help you to work with it. So as you can see, we are working with localhost 5173. So hold Control on your keyboard and you click to start React app. So this is what we saw in our first video, where after we've successfully created our React app. So let's minimize that. Now let's go through the project structure. We have the node models. We are going to ignore that for now. We have the public. We are going to ignore that for now. But let's come to the SRC. That is where we are going to start from. That is a source folder. So under the source folder, we have assets. So with the assets, that is where we are going to place all the images and the animations that we want to use in a project. So let's say in your website, you want to add an image in your website. You are going to copy that image and you are going to paste it in the asset folder. But mind you, you can delete this folder and create another folder with the name, any name that you want, maybe images, and you can place your images there. So basically the asset folder is a folder where you place all your assets. That is the images and the animations, anything that you want to include in your React app. The next thing that we have is the app.css. But before we talk about the app.css, let's talk about the app.jss. React is a component-based library, which means that I want to look for a simple way to explain the component-based aspect of React. So let's say, let's take a human body as an example. So we have the head, we have the hand, we have so many body parts, but they all come together to perform as a whole. So for React, what is that? It gives you the opportunity to break down your whole website into different components. So you can have one component, the head component. So unlike HTML where you do everything inside one HTML file, let's say you are designing a home page in HTML, and when you are doing that, you have to design what do you call it, a header where or a nav bar, a nav bar where you have to include some links and some maybe a logo or an image. You can also have maybe a welcome message. You can also have messages, a whole lot of things. But with React, unlike HTML where you have to do everything in the same HTML document, React gives you the opportunity to break down your project into different reusable components. So you can break your project into smaller pieces. You can have the head, you can have the hand, and afterwards you are going to put them all together and it will work as a whole. So the app.js, because this is just a dummy thing, when you are going to clear all this and work with we are going to do everything after this lesson. The next lesson, we are going to clear everything and do everything on our own. So we have some bunch of code in our app.js. So when it comes to React files, the file extension is JX or JSS. Yes, so JSX. Yes, so we have a bunch of code here. So I want to explain. So at the top here, we have some kind of imports, use states, and all that. We'll talk about that later. But our main focus should be here: import app.css. As I told you, you should be familiar with CSS. You know, CSS is used for styling. So this app.css is what we have here. So when you come here, we have plain CSS over here, some styling, and it's only affecting, we have imported this CSS into our app.js so we can style this component. So just like HTML, where you import your CSS file inside your HTML document, then you make changes to your website. Same thing applies here. There's nothing different over here. So this app.css is affecting the app.js because we've imported this CSS file inside the app.js file. So it gives us the opportunity to make changes or to style the component. Then we have index.css. Index.css is a global styling for the whole website or the whole app. Index.css is for the whole app. App.css is only affecting the app.js because we've imported that one into it. But when we talk about the index.css, it's affecting everything. So if you go through this CSS, we have maybe a display of flex or a margin of 0, which means that any page that you are going to create or any component that you are going to create in your React app is going to have a margin of 0. So it is going to affect the whole component. So maybe what do you have here? Maybe you don't have that margin 0 there, but your index.js is going to affect everything that you have. We'll talk more about that later as we work around. And with the main.js, we are going to also talk about that. That is the main. So as you can see, the app, we have the app here. So we will explain further as we move along. So basically, this is the folder structure of the React. So we have the get.ignore, which is not important now, index.html. So we have index.html. You have an HTML file also inside our React app. And as you can see here, this is plain HTML. We have the head tag. So icon, you can just change the icon. So let's come to our yes, so you see this is an icon that we have Vite Plus. We have this icon here. You can make that changes in the index.html. Then also see, just as we do in HTML, we have the title Vite Plus React. And you see the title is displaying over here, Vite Plus React. So we can make changes to it. Let's say we change the title to React 1. just React. Let's change it to just React. Let's save it. Then head back to our development server. Then we have the React. So whenever you make changes to any part of your React app, what you have to do is you have to save it, Control plus X. Then you go back to your browser and it will reflect. But as time goes on, I'm going to show you some VS Code extensions that will help you so that you wouldn't need to refresh anytime you make changes to your React app. So that is that on the index.html. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is package.json. And this is where you add all your dependencies. So we later in the series we are going to include some dependencies. So we are going to work with this file later in the series. So for now, what you see on your browser right now is the app.js. So with the app.js, we have the function. I told you that React is a JavaScript framework. So we have a function app. Ignore this one. This is hooks. We'll talk about it later. And you have the return. So you can see that from this point coming down, we have just plain HTML. Yes, we call it JSX, and it helps you to use plain HTML to design your website. So we have a div, we have an anchor tag, we have an image tag. So it's very essential that you have basic or fair knowledge of HTML, because basically you are going to use HTML all the time to design everything. So React combines JavaScript with HTML directly. You don't need any separate JS file. So we are going to make changes. So let's go over to, let's say, edit. So you can change anything here. You can save, go back to your yes, and you have it over here, your browser. You can make changes to any of them. So this is all for this lesson. In the next lesson, we are going to clear all this. Then we are going to begin coding our website, our first website. If you don't understand anything, please leave a comment in the comment section. You can just play around with some of the HTML here as we wait for our next video. Thank you.